Hey guys, welcome out. This is Darren Boyd of OTR Racing, live from the basement pain cave near Salt Lake City. We're getting ready for the ZRL Zwift Racing League Race 9 scratch race at Harrogate World Circuit. 2 laps, so we're going to jump in here. Want to show you guys before we get going, just want to go over where we're sitting. So the season standings, see if I can find that here. So season standings, going to be following OTR Oost Trein here, and they are in 7th place. And our team looks like this. We've got Albert. Andrew was supposed to be with us, but apparently somebody thinks he's going to get discontinued or disqualified, so he's not going to race. We've got Brian Bishop, new guy, Chris Stewart, Justin, and Max. So let's see how things are looking here. Just about 10 seconds to go. So I need to zero in on somebody. And they are off. Looks like I missed the start. So we're in. Just out of the pen with Chris here. And he's sitting about 50th place. This is a brutal start. See. Looks like Brian's maybe just a little bit behind him. Albert starting to stretch out pretty good now. That first little downhill. Looks like Chris maybe is just latching on. To the main group here, moving up a little bit. So looking good. He made it through that selection. And I think I saw Brian in here with them too. So far so good for Chris. Nice work, buddy. Let's see if I can latch on. A little bit of flat ground here. One of the rare places of flat ground that we even have on this Harrogate circuit. Back to Chris. Okay, Brian. Brian's new. He's looking good here. One of our new guys jumping in here for the first time. So here we make the hard right. Got a little bit of a false flat to head down before we hit the big super steep downhill. So we'll see how that affects everything. Let's see if we can move to the back of this pack and see who's bringing up the rear. So that looks like about the top 60 riders sitting on the back here. 62, 63 riders. A little bit of a gap. 5-6 seconds back to the ones before. Let's try moving back up to Brian here. Brian's much better place, up in top 20. And here comes our big downhill. These guys are going to be screaming. They're already 75 kph on this. Over 80 kph. Let's see what's going to happen once we hit this little punchy climb on the other side. Got Greg Mangus of Team ODZ in this group too. A lot of us know Greg. He's kind of the boss man at ODZ. Good to see him in there. He made that front selection as well. So it looks like that group's still here. This is about a 4% little climb here. Looks like Brad's hanging in there right up the front. Let's take a look and see how Chris is faring with these guys. Looks like that's going to be our top guys. Up to 6%. Chris is riding good, riding in the wheels. This flattens out a little bit before we head down the hill for our first KOM. So let's roll back, see how Max is sitting. So it looks like Max is in a little group, just about to make contact with the main chase group. So he's in about 82nd place. Come on, Max, you can do it. So let's make that selection. As you always say, never give up. Never give up. It looks like these guys should be able to get back on with them. Let's see if Justin's just behind Max here in that same group. So those guys all should be working together. Let's see how Albert's faring here. Looks like maybe actually Albert's just barely up ahead of Max's group in the main chase group. Yeah, he's in P64, so he's leading that group. So hopefully these guys will all get back together and they'll form that main chase group. Let's get back up to Brian and see. Brian's still hanging there in the top 10. Getting ready to head down the big downhill before we start the KOM for the first time. So let's keep a watch out on these guys. So here we are hitting the big downhill. Guys are up over 70 kph again. Drop back with Chris. Chris is right at the front of the pack. Let's listen in on these guys, see if there's any chat going on. Looks like most everybody's muted. So here we are, heading up to KOM for the first time. Sit here with Chris for a minute. Chris is banging out almost 500 watts, trying to not lose any ground to this main group on this climb. This should be about a 3.5, 4 minute climb, something like that, if I recall correctly. Like Brian's hanging in here a little bit better, so he's right up in that front little group. 5.4, 5.2 watts per kilogram, 180 beats per minute, so he's definitely almost 100 RPM cadence. Looking super strong here. Looking good, Brian and Chris, hanging with that main group. Keep it up, guys. Drop back and see how Chris is doing. See if he's been able. Looks like there's just a little bit of a gap. Hopefully he gets some help from a couple of these other big boys, but he's doing pretty good. Imagine to stay just about there. Push it over the top, 162 beats a minute. It's just got about a 1 second gap, so come on, Chris, buddy. Almost to the top there. There's that banner. Don't let too much of a gap open up, and you can close that sucker on the downhill. Looks like that front group is stretching out. Let's see if we can see. And here comes Brian across. Looks like Brian got stretched out just a little bit on the last little bit of that climb. So he's coming across in P29. That front group's just way stretched out ahead. So let's move up there and look and see. Who we got. Don't recognize any of these guys, but now we got a big old line. There's one more group just a bit up the road here. Let's try to bump up with them. So this is our front group. About maybe 8, 9 guys. And then there's that second group behind. They're about 2 seconds back. Let's pop back and look at them. Yeah, we got a second group there. See where Brian fared. So okay, good deal. So it looks like Brian's been able to get in with that second group that's coming together now, and they are just about to make contact with that first group as we hit the small loop of the course and make the hard left. And then let's see how Chris has been able to manage. So it looks like Chris has been tagged off quite a bit here. So it's all stretched out, a bunch of stragglers in between. He's in right around P50 in a little group of about 6 or 7 guys, 8 guys. They're going to pick up 2 more right here as they hit the hill. They're definitely putting out the power, so they're picking up stragglers like crazy. Let's bounce back up and see how Brian's doing, if they've maybe able to latch onto that front group. But yeah, it looks like Brian is in with the front group this time again. Just maybe one guy off the front. Other than that, we got our top about 25 riders, it looks like. Just one guy off the front. Maybe he's like the guy's going off the front, going for that sprint banner. This sprint banner you see up here on the mini map, that's there's points offered for that for the top 5 guys. So if Brian can go for that sprint, Brian, go for that sprint. No, not quite. No big deal, man. Way to hang in there, buddy. Thought he was right there. Maybe he could give it a little bit of a go. So nice work and just getting back into that front group, stretching out a little bit because of that sprint. Sure, this will all come back together. So let's go take a look at and see. So yeah, Brian's riding right up into the top 10, so a pretty good selection here. So if he can manage to stay with those guys, that is it's going to give him a really good opportunity to score some great points. So awesome contribution here from Brian on our first shot. So hopefully he does not get an immediate upgrade. So drop back to Chris real quick. We'll drop back to the pack a little bit. It looks like there's a pretty good gap now. Chris is still with that group. They've picked up some stragglers. So let's go back and see Max. Oh, Max looks like he's all alone. Looks like he's just ahead of another group. And let's wait for the thing to refresh and see what position he's in. It looks like this small group's going to catch Max. He's in P56, so he can't be too far behind. Or could he even be in with Chris's group? Let me see. What do we show here? I do not see the trademark pink hat of Chris. Oh, it looks like Max is now on about 68th. There's a white helmet OTR guy there, so I'm guessing that's probably, is that Albert? So yeah, Albert is in here with Max, and let's get a quick look and see where Justin's at. Looks like Justin back in 81, so it looks like Justin's a little bit farther back, and he's got a good group to ride with though here. Let's bounce up and see where Chris is at. And he has actually done some damage with that group he's riding with. And he's up into 35th place, so he's in a group that's really close to the points there. So let's bounce back and see where Max is again. And so Max is in that group just behind him, so they are getting ready to make the turn back onto the big circuit to finish up that first lap. So let's see how this plays out. It looks like maybe there's it's a bigger gap than it looks like. This guy's about a 15-16 second gap to that next group up front, but this looks like it's probably a bigger group, so I'm going to get on the horn, make sure these guys know what's going on real quick here. So hey guys, we've got Chris is in a group just in front of the group that Albert and Max are in. And the group behind is a little bit bigger, so those guys might come together. Max and Albert, that group up ahead, they're getting real close to the points, and they're picking up stragglers. And Chris is in that group, so if you guys can work together and bridge that up, you're definitely closing the gap already. It's down about 10 seconds. So try to hang in there and stay with this group and work together with them, and that group can kind of come together, and you guys might just be able to have a shot at some of those tail end points. So nice work, guys. Way to work together. Keep it up. All right, so give them guys a little bit of motivation. Let's go back and see how Chris is faring with this group. This is a pretty good sized group though, so those guys behind are really gonna have to work. Let's look at that rear view and see. So there they are. You can see them back there. Chris is riding well with this group here. He's in P48 right now, but this group stretches clear up into the low 30s. So just keep a close eye on this. While we're doing that, let's bounce back up and see how Brian's doing. All right, great work. So we got Brian up here with what looks like to be at least the first lap selection. So he's hanging in there. Got his heart rate down into the 160s, keeping that cadence up in the mid 90s. Just sitting on the wheel, so looking in really good shape. Let's see how this group stretches. How many we got in here? Wow, this is a pretty big group, boy. This selection group. I thought it was smaller than that. So it looks like somewhere in the 30s, a group of about 30. Yeah, just about exactly 30. And then that next group with Chris in it, you can see him over here, is about 33 seconds back. So Let's go. There's some OCD boys in there, so let's see if Greg has managed to make this last selection. It looks like... Let's let that populate and see what group Greg's riding in. Greg's in P41, so he must be in that group with Chris, I'm guessing. Yeah, I think that is Chris right there over his right shoulder in the pink hat. We'll take a look. Chris's view. Yep, there's Chris. And let's see, who else we got? So it looks like that group has maybe come together while we were up at the front group. And we've got Chris is in P60. Albert's now right around P60. And let's make sure Max has made it with these guys. Yep, here's Max. Trademark black cycling cap, P42. But yeah, that group has come all together, so that's a pretty big group. They're on this long slog of a gradual, and then there's, yeah, so here's Greg literally riding right there with Max. So Greg, the ODZ boss there, looks like he's got a teammate, G. Delport right next to him. So he's got some teammates. Max, Chris, and Albert are all together in this group. And then just, looks like we just got Justin that's in the group chasing these guys. So Max moving up here on this long 5% slog. This is about as steep as this gets, and then, but it's just a really long, hardly enough to be called a proper hill, and it definitely doesn't look like it, but boy, it just saps you. So Max looking good. About 170 beats a minute though. That's got to be pretty high for Max, so he's got to be putting out pretty big effort. Let's bounce back front and see how Brian's faring up front with those lead guys. They've hit this quick little ramp of a downhill, followed by a little bit of a ramp of an uphill, and then some dead flat ground. So they're finally through that big long slog after the start-finish line. Looks like he's hanging well right here with the guys. Looks like there's a bunch of the Wahoo guys in Wahoo kit. I'm not sure. That must be probably those guys that are leading the series. These FW Neen. I think that's Finesse Wahoo. That's these FW 3.9 guys. So, so they got a strong contender. Looks like there's a 3 or 4 dirt guys at least in there. There's actually several dirt teams in this, so those guys could actually be from different teams. Drop back down and see if that group still is big. What we want to see for our guys that are chasing here, the thing they can hope for is that, yeah, still 29, looks like 29 riders in that. So literally, ladies and gentlemen, this is your points right here. This is your group for more than 1 point. Everybody else besides this group now is racing for 1 point. Looks like there's looks like there was someone just off in no man's land there, but let's drop back and see how Chris is doing. So he's hanging with this group. He's made it through that slog of a climb on dead flat ground. So hopefully he's back down in the 140 beat per minute range here. So he should be getting a little bit of recover, if you can so loosely term that on this course. So he's moving back up. So we should still have Should still have Max in here with them. Yep, here's Max. He's staying close to the front. So as I was starting to say, so we got Max, Albert, and Chris all in here, and then Brian up front. So 4 of our 5 guys are either in first or second group. What these guys can hope for is that that first group gets shattered a little bit on this next time up the climb, and these guys are able to hang with this group, and that group mops up some of those stragglers and gets to a point to where this group can actually be vying for more than 1 point. So we'll see how things go after the climb, and then maybe we'll chime in on the radio and give them a little bit of encouragement to if these front guys shed some of their weaker riders, and a group this size, this has got to be a group of about 25 or 30 riders, but it's going to be a double thing here. That front group of 29 is going to shed some riders, but this group's probably going to shed some riders. So these guys got to make sure that they make the selection for this group to have an opportunity to maybe round up some of the stragglers from that group up ahead. So let's bounce back up, see how Brian's doing. He's staying right there in the top 10. So really nice work for him. He's here with the who's who of this division. For those of you who don't know, this is the Eastern West or Eastern B1 division. The East Bs started out with 3 divisions and somewhere about 70 riders, 65 to 70 riders, or 65 to 70 teams, sorry, of 6 riders each, and they, after the first 2 qualifying races, they redistributed the divisions, and they took the best teams from all 3 of those divisions. So the top 7 or 8 teams, they ended up with 22 or 23 teams in this Division 1, which is the fastest, strongest division in this Eastern B1 division. And so that this division is super deep because it had the strongest guys out of the original first 3 divisions all thrown together. So looking at the numbers in general, and it's really hard to compare in a scratch race like this, but this division has competed on par with the European divisions, which are generally recognized as the fastest, deepest fields. Some of the European time slots. There's 2 European time slots, and each of those 2 East and West European time slots have 2 B Division 1s, 2 B Division 2s, etc. So, and I think they go clear down to like Division 6 or 7. So there's literally, in Europe, there's literally like 12 to 14 different divisions. And these guys are always competing on par with the top European divisions. So this East division is really tough. I'm guessing there's some European guys in here. And then this is definitely like the cream of the crop for the Western Hemisphere. So Brian's hanging in there tight. We're on the descent, getting ready for what will obviously be the final major decisive factor in tonight's race. Looks like he's doing some super tucking. I don't think these guys have shed anybody else since we noticed they're 29. So here we go. We're going to make this hard turn over the stone bridge, and we are on to the KOM. So right now I'm going to stay right up here in the front with Brian and see if he is able to hang with this first selection group here on these guys. I gotta think these guys are definitely going to shed some riders. So far so good. He's right here in the top 10. This is probably the steepest right here at the bottom. It got up to about 8% there. I think we might see a little shades of 10%. It's got a couple little places where it actually levels off a little bit. So it's definitely not the hardest climb in the world. Looks like he's riding strong, putting out almost 500 watts, doing over 100 RPM cadence. Heart rate's creeping right back up towards that 180 point that we saw last time, but Looks like he's hanging right in there. Definitely great addition to the team here. Sure would have been awesome to have him for the whole season. Have that strength for some of these scratch races that we got beat up in. So looking good here. Here's one of these spots where that flattens off a little bit, only 1% there for a little bit. And then now you can see the finish arch there in the top right hand corner. It ramps back up a little bit, 6-7%. He's hanging in there in the teens. This thing's stretching out a little bit with the front guys, but it doesn't look like they have shed anybody yet. So I'll really be amazed if these guys somehow manage to all stay, all 29 of these guys all stay together. Now we're looking like we're seeing a few guys shred off the back, so that's what we want to see. Brian's struggling a little bit here, dropping down to P20, but he's still up there with close to the bulk of the front. And there's, as you can see up here in the top right hand corner, we got a few guys that are splitting off, 1 to 2 second gaps. Gonna watch Brian over the front top here. Hopefully he can stay with these guys in front of him and they can all try to get that to come together. So hang in there, Brian. Let's drop back and see how Max is doing on the climb. So it looks like Max and Albert are right next to each other here, and then I can see Chris just about 2 or 3 riders up ahead of them. So those guys are all doing well hanging together. They're tailing, stretching out a little bit with this group, but they're hanging in there so far. It looks like there's a little bit of a split up ahead. So these guys really need to try to work and get up there with them. Let's see how Chris's numbers are looking. So these guys are just coming over the arch. Chris is definitely in with that front group. Hopefully Max and those guys can jump in. Let's bounce back up and see how Brian has fared with his group of the front. Looks like there's a little bit of a split. See how many Brian's here in P14. Looks like these guys have some numbers on this downhill though. Only a 3-second gap, and there's a couple small groups up here. So if these guys get together, boy, they could do some damage. But it looks like these two groups are going to come together. But Brian's group looks like they're just about to catch him as well. Boy, this is going to be kind of crazy. Let me see. It's looking to me like Brian's actually on the tail end of the group that's all coming together, riding his Canyon Arrow Road. So yeah, so that those two groups have managed to get together, and then there's looks like there's less than 20. Let's see how far this group goes down. There's 21 guys. One of the ODZ guys there. $20 guys. And then there's a gap of about 4 seconds. There's one guy in no man's land. There's a gap in about 4 seconds. Back down to these guys. But boy, they're definitely a straggling group. So this is a kind of group that these guys behind can reel in. So let's drop down to the next group. A couple guys here at 21 seconds, but it's only 2 guys. And then 13. We've got a group here of just a handful of guys, and these guys are racing to mop up the points. Let's see if Chris actually made it into this chase group. Yeah, it looks to me like Chris made it into that chase group. Unfortunately, it looks like maybe he's the only one that made this group, and he's in P40. So these guys are a big enough group that they could mop some stuff up. Let's drop back and see where Max and Albert ended up. And they are just behind. Albert and Max are sticking to each other like glue all through the race. So these guys are definitely evenly matched. So there goes Max. He's trying to latch on with this group, trying to get this group to coalesce here. So he really needs to suck it up. And then this group might be able to reel those guys in. So come on, Max. You can do it. Looks like he's going to latch on. Albert is not too far behind. Let's drop back and check Albert's view because he's really close to Max there. Hopefully he can keep from getting split off of that group of Max, and it's really tenuous right now. I got these 3-4 guys can really put the hammer down and stay with that group, but if they don't close it right now, they're going to be just losing ground. So there's about a 2-second gap. Let's get back up with Brian, see how he's faring with these front guys. Looks like he's doing awesome. And they are getting really close to the finish. So they're heading down the final little hill to where the course comes together onto the big loop. And they just got to do that final climb to the finish with the hard right up onto downtown Harrogate. Looks like he's in great position. Let's just watch and see how this sprint goes. Not sure how good of a sprinter Brian is. Like I said, he's new. Really want to welcome him to the fold. This is awesome that he's been able to stay with these front guys. And looks like he's staying in perfect position. He's in P5 up to P3, P5. Okay, so here's this last little kicker. Guys are already starting to take off. A couple of the dirt guys out of the saddle. This thing flattens off to kind of a false flat, so some of these bigger guys might be able to have a final little bit of a kick if they've been able to hang on. So here we go. We're just a couple hundred meters from the finish, maybe 300 meters. Come on, Brian. Give it all you got. Looks like maybe he's bouncing up. He's over 500 watts. See if he can pick up some places. P17, all orange numbers. Come on, Brian. Come on, Brian. Looks like he's staying in P17. Might get a couple of these guys before the finish. And right in P17, 18. Nice work, guys. That's some decent points. Let's drop back and see how Chris is faring. Chris has done well to stay with his group. P32, so boy, Chris is just barely out of the points. Come on, buddy, if you got anything left, you can maybe get up to 29th and get a couple points. Stretching out a little bit, hanging in P2, P31. Come on, Chris, you can do it. Chris isn't known for his lightning sprint abilities, so that may be all he's got to give. P32, looks like one more guy maybe is going to come by him. P33, another dirt guy. P34, can he catch this one guy? So he found one guy that was a worse sprinter than him and crossed the line in P33, it looks like. So nice job, Chris. Let's drop back and see how Max is faring. He should be right there. So yeah, Max is coming up to the line. Got tailed off of that group he was working with a little bit. P53. Finishing up. Nice strong effort. P53. And let's see. Here comes Albert. Not too far behind Max. Let's see how Justin's doing. Looks like Justin ended up having a little bit of a lonely ride. He's kind of just bringing it in, but he's got a bunch of guys behind him. So nice work. Way to work it in. Greg Magnus coming across the line now, so There we have it, guys. We're going to call that a wrap. So we'll see you next time. Nice work, guys.